Welcome to Wait, It Gets Better, the Improvisational Story Telling podcast, where every week a few friends get together with our randomly designed brains, we organize them into a way that is cohesive and good, and we fight for justice and peace in the American way, and we make you a story that will entertain you on this beautiful October evening. I am, of course, Levi.
I'm Reed.
And I'm Seth.
And we are here to tell you a story. What story elements did you guys had? I had unique pet.
I have unique vehicle.
I have beginning scene.
Well, I guess Seth should go first then, shouldn't he?
I would suppose so.
Let's hear it.
All right. Let's see here. Dreams give way to darkness. The darkness gives way to the darkness of night. Cedric opens his eyes. Reagan is kneeling close to his ear and whispers at a low enough tone that none but him could hear for miles, or not for miles. That would be okay. So that no one else could even dare to hear. The wind has changed. I can smell the residue of the campfire 2 miles up on the other side of the ridge. If we make now, we can make the crossing 5 miles up. At least we know which side of the river they're on. Very good, Reagan, says Cedric. Wake the others. And Reagan steps aside and gives some flapping sounds of a bird in the night, followed by a screech that would perfectly mirror a rabbit being snatched away. And out of the darkness of the moon filtering through the trees, 8 other figures move from their slumbering positions that even in broad daylight, one would walk right over them, quickly sobering themselves with a quick drink of water, grabbing their satchels and covering up that they were even there. They all take to foot and they're on their way.
I like it. It's good. So is there Cedric? Who else is there?
Cedric, Reagan.
And I forgot to say, there's 8 others. There's eight others.
So there's 10 altogether?
So there's 10 altogether, yeah.
So they're basically hunting something or someone, or trying
Correct.
to escape from them or something.
Following after, so I don't know, I was just driving before I got home and we started reporting. I was trying to run it all through my head and I didn't have time to write it down.
Yeah.
But basically, so to give a little bit of the things that I missed in my attempt at oration there is that Reagan is very attuned to the sense of smell. And what it was is that he smells that the residue of the campfire across this ravine a certain distance up because the wind had changed. And he's like attuned to that to the point where most of the time he'll go around blindfolded so long as
right.
Like he's not going to impede his immediate surroundings.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
He's attuned his sense of smell and hearing to where he could basically run around blindfolded, and pick out minute smells. Like in this case, the campfire, which would have been, doused and covered, but the scent that it was there and the path that it came through the trees or whatever that it lingers on, he could pick that out.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, cool. They're steering clear of something. That's for sure. Reed, do you want to go next?
Obviously, don't want to be.
Or should I go next?
You go next, because it'll be.
Okay. My unique pet goes by designation number 658F3I5D/0, or Fido for short. Fido is a seek and destroy protection drone of a short-range intercontinental ballistic missile silo station. He has the basically the consciousness of a German Shepherd that was converted via neural network scan, augmented with artificial intelligence, and put on as a watchdog over this base. Fido is 1,500 pounds. Fido is 15 foot tall at the top of his head standing up. Fido is part artificial mass as the creation of muscle and the strengthening of muscle is seen to be important, but Fido is also augmented machine, as the hardening of solid titanium casing seems to also be important. Fido can see in every single spectrum of color that exists and can run at approximately 150 miles an hour. He was created as kind of a watchdog, all pun intended, of this base where these experimental missiles were being held. Now, if this story is played out after the apocalypse, then I'm guessing the bombs have gone up already, or maybe they haven't, and that's one of the key things of the story is that Fido knows where they are. However, one of the problems is that a lot like Y2K, how people didn't really imagine, that we would there'd be some way to like reset the numbers and everything to go crazy. When the scientists were programming in Fido, they didn't really imagine how long it would be before that he would remain active for. They imagined he would remain active for 10 years, 15 years, and then by then they'd have a new system up. But the bombs went up before that happened. So Fido has just completed his first ever factory reset, where like how old is the body? The body is probably 150, 200 years old. But the brain, the consciousness, has taken all of the high priority information and shoved it to the back, done 100 years of research onto what should happen, and Fido is essentially an 8-week-old puppy.
That's great.
And so I imagine that something happens and he scans the hero and immediately attaches mother to the hero, and then he is the unique pet. He's a bizarre thing, right? Because it's like part flesh, part not. So he still has to eat food, but it's kind of like upper part of the head is still flesh, but like lower jaw is clearly like larger and augmented metallic. Fur and still in some places because it needs to insulate and protect the vital organs that are inside. But most of the organs are augmented in order to last for hundreds of years. All the blood going through Fido's system is, specifically crafted, genetically crafted. What I'm thinking of is that we're currently living in a post-apocalyptic system, but the world before was very advanced. So Fido is just one of the many wonders of the old world. But he's ugly. You aren't just gonna like walk into a town with him on your side.
Nice puppy.
Because he's like the size of a F-150. So he typically will like stay outside, but he can do lots of things. And if he was in full like activation mode, no one could get within 10 miles of the hero, who the hero didn't know about. The hero didn't know where they were all the time. But Fido has done a system reset and is now a puppy. So he has to be basically trained up to become and to access the things that he can access. So that's the unique pet.
Well, I can introduce the unique vehicle now. I was kind of concerned about how it would go, but we can do it. You've all heard, what a submarine is. Well, the unique vehicle here is a subterrane, and it's essentially a cylinder, cylindrical in shape, about 3 meters by 10 meters, with the back is flat with an access door and ramp. And the front is in the shape of a cone. It's like a cone shape front coming to a point in the kind of like, imagine like a spiral shaped cone. And this vehicle will burrow through, it will burrow as though the rotating cone eats his way through solid rock or whatever, loose gravel, whatever the ground is, like a drill bit would eat its way through wood.
Right.
But the cone never touches earth. It seems to like vaporize the rock that it's in its way, and it leaves a tunnel that's round and seemingly composed of like a solid polished rock, not needing any supports or buttressing of any kind.
Oh, wow.
And it was designed to be able to quickly create
Tunnels.
safe spaces and tunnels.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But it has a power source that is like a cartridge, and it's a cylindrical shaped cartridge that has a series of crystals that fits into the like this power slot. And I don't know anything about how it's maintained and the control interface or anything, but it sits the vehicle when it doesn't appear to have locomotion, but it moves through rock, and the cone shaped thing front just sort of, like I say, vaporizes. You can go through like a loose gravel, and it would leave behind whatever it takes, whatever matter that it vaporizes, and then and just makes this really dense like tube.
Yeah. Like a nice,
right.
like a tunnel, basically.
Right. Yes.
Is it the size of a submarine, or is it like car size?
Well, I'm just saying, no, it's like 3 meters. I said 3 meters by 10 meters. It's pretty big. It leaves a tunnel like that's a good 9 feet in diameter. So like you can walk through it. 3 people trying to walk abreast through it would be a little bit awkward because the sides start going up,
Right.
So if you're going to make any time through this tunnel, you're going to have to go single file on foot. But vehicles can traverse it, and you can lay tracks so you can have, you can, and there are tools that you can cut out chambers and whatnot.
Right.
Right.
Right. Is there only one of these, or are these like an ancient thing, kind of like Fido was, like an ancient wonder?
Right. Yes. No, it is definitely old technology, but it's still working. And this is one that, shall we say, we, being the people, those of us in the story, know of. Obviously, it's one of who knows how many. There is evidence of complexes, of tunnel-like complexes, that were built for the purpose of surviving the troubles. But this one, and it goes relatively fast. It'll be the denser the material it has to get through, the slower it'll go. But even in rough slag or gravel, sometimes you have to slow down because it takes time to build to
solidify the outside.
Right.
Yeah.
The stability of the part of the earth it's traveling through will create variables in how fast you can go with this thing.
Right. Cool. So clearly, I think what we're looking at here is a ancient, like a post-apocalyptic system with a extremely advanced history, I'd say we're like 100 years on, or like 120 years on.
Yeah. And the people, the survivors, have developed skills.
Right.
Because if you're a survivor and you're on the surface, and like Reagan and Cedric.
When Seth was talking about that, what I was thinking of is the south face of the south side of the Grand Canyon. Like just kind of arid and windy, and he smells this and he knows that it's coming from down inside. And so they're like going to go down inside to sort of, Seth, are they going towards the fire, or are they running away from the fire?
They're going towards it. So it's the way I at least tried to set it up is that they're following whoever or whatever would have left the fire. The people who would have had the fire probably tried to null it. but the stunt of burning, because see, the wind changed. So they're
Right.
being very slow and secretive, because if the wind is coming against them, they'll give off their position to whoever they're chasing. But now the wind has changed sometime in the night and given them, that scent that whatever they're following is now, like, what do I say, like 3 miles ahead, but on the other side of whatever ravine. I'm going to guess that there's probably like a river across that, something
Right.
that they're on one
Right.
side of this ravine. Now they know which side of the ravine these people are on, and there's a crossing 5 miles up. So ultimately, they'll have to go like 5 miles up in order to cross, and then try to pick the trail back up if they're going to if that other group is continuing to follow, the river or that side of the
Right.
ravine, or if they've
Right. Part of me was
left
thinking.
that.
Part of me was thinking that. Part of me was thinking that maybe they are trying to, basically, the civilized world. If you're on top of the earth, the civilized world is pretty barren and terrible. Not barren like there's no plants. There's plenty of plants, but there's also, it's kind of where the wild people are. It's where the wildness is. But you can also walk around unscathed and unmolested, by walking around above. And you can sometimes find strange wonders, you know? But what they're doing is they're trying to find basically a train station, a place where one of these, what are they called, Reed?
The subterrane
have dug passages between giant underground cities, and if you can find the train station and you can get on, you can trade stuff, and then you can enter into where 99% of or not 99, probably like 60% of humanity lives, which is underground in these giant subterranean passages. But when you're underground, traveling via these subterranes and the paths that the subterranes have made, then you're under scrutiny and you can be easily trapped. You can't like escape if you're in a tunnel that's 100 miles long.
Yeah, it's
So maybe my brain was just kind of putting this stuff together. Maybe one of the things that they're chasing these, not chasing them, just kind of following at a distance, because they have some information that these people are going to a train station, and train stations aren't like broadcast for everyone, because if they were, then the warlords of the upper worlds would just send in hundreds of thousands of people down, to destroy and to take and to loot, so it's kind of a little bit on the down low. And so they're like, we have to follow these people because maybe they'll get us to one of these train stations, where we can get underground and find one of these tunnels made by the subterranes to travel to a city for some reason, or they're tracking them for some other. I had kind of got the sense, Seth, that these people who were tracking them, they're good guys.
Yeah, I would say they're good guys.
Yeah, they sound like they're good guys. Maybe they're part of the quartet or something. Whatever's happening there. But I like it. I think this is going to be good. And then they'll meet Fido at some point in the future.
Mm-hmm.
I was just thinking, one of them should have like a gun it's not a gun, but it looks kind of like a welder. But it's one of the singular vaporizers that's on the cone of a subterrane.
Right.
And with it, he can basically dig through anything, but he can only dig through something in like a 3x4 kind of space. So like, if he's given time, he can like make a tunnel, but it takes, hours compared to the subterrane's minutes. I kind of like that idea of this kind of specialty group. Are we going to say they're like rangers, like hunting people down for some reason? Are they justice seekers? Or do we say there's something in the future that we'll figure out next week?
I think maybe we can figure out what exactly they are next week if we want to pin them down as like Law of the Land, Texas Rangers, or like a group of people from their own place chasing someone down,
Yeah.
or just, I don't know, a band of, mercenaries
Justice
seeking
seekers.
something out.
Yeah. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Wait, It Gets Better. Be sure to tune in next week as we continue this story. I don't know what it's going to be called yet. We'll know the next time we record. If you like these episodes where we do continuing stories over and over and over again, I would say I would love to hear that. Just send me an email at waititgetsbettercast@gmail.com or at me on Twitter at @getsbettercast. Or just tell your friends. If you thought that this episode was good, tell your friends about it, because I'm sure they'll think it's good too, because, you have good taste in friends. If you didn't like this story and you think, wow, I sure wish they would have done a better job, I would say, just wait. It gets better. Cut. My voice broke there right at the end.